Pyrite, which is also known as the fool's gold, is one of those minerals that when you see it, you are instantly taken in by its unique beauty. With being an iron sulfide mineral with a metallic reflection and pale brass yellow hue, it often leads to confusion with gold. But why is it called fool's gold? That is because pyrite isn't actually gold itself, nor even related to the foundations of gold. So let's break down how it is formed, how it was used throughout history, and where you can find it. Starting off with, what is actually pyrite? So, pyrite is an iron sulfide mineral with the chemical formula of FeS2, which means that it has two compositions, one being iron, Fe, and the other being sulfur, S. With the name coming from the ancient Greek word of pyrites lithos, which translates to stone or mineral which strikes fire. On the Mohs hardness scale, to give you an example in comparison, gold is rated anywhere between 2.5 and 3, making it relatively soft and easily scratched by a copper coin or knife. Pyrite, however, ranks between 6 and 6.5, indicating greater hardness. It can scratch glass and resists scratching by softer materials. Gold is also highly malleable, and it can be forged into thin sheets or drawn into wires without breaking. In contrast, pyrite is brittle and will shatter or crumble under pressure rather than deforming. Gold's density is notably higher, with a specific gravity of approximately 19.3, making it feel heavier for its size. Pyrite, though, has lower specific gravity around 5 and feels lighter in comparison. Pyrite commonly forms in well-deformed cubic or octahedral crystals with sharp edges. At the same time, gold is typically found in irregular nugget-like shapes or as flakes without a definite crystalline structure. Rubbing a mineral across an unglazed porcelain plate reveals its streaks. The color of its powdered form, gold leaves usually a yellowish streak, whereas pyrite leaves a greenish-black or brownish-black streak. Due to its sulfur content, pyrite may even emit a faint sulfuric or bad egg smell, which, when struck or scratched, gold is just odorless. As some of you are wondering with the name, that what is the purpose of calling it pyrite? This is because many centuries ago, back before when we had modern technologies of lighters and matches, believe it or not, but they actually used pyrite to help create fire, hence where the Greek name word comes from of pyrites lithos. But using the pyrite, it would actually cause a spark to then, you guess it, make a fire. Now, if anyone knows old armory weapons, you may have heard of the wheellock or even the monk's gun. This is because these are just a few weapons that actually use pyrite as a part of their ignition system. You also found in some cultures that pyrite is used as a reflection of a mirror or even as a glass there itself. Now, with the formation of pyrite, there are 3 different ways that pyrite itself can be formed, with actually starting deep within the Earth's surface from different variety of conditions. First formation is the sedimentary formation. The sedimentary formation is when it forms in a sedimentary environment, meaning that it is an area on the Earth's surface where sediment is deposited. It can be distinguished from many other areas on the basis of its physical, chemical, biological characteristics, such places as rivers, lakes, swamps, glacier, or even the desert. Though usually in these environments, bacteria does actually play an important role, as certain microorganisms break down organic matter to then produce sulfur as a byproduct. From there, the sulfur reacts with the iron in the surrounding sediments to form teeny tiny little crystals of pyrite, and then of course, growing more and more over time. Secondly, there is the hydrothermal formation. Hydrothermal formation is the most common way for pyrite to be formed, deep underground. There is hot water in which is rich in iron and sulfur. It is then dissolved and is moved through the cracks of the earth. Just like a perfectly cooked meal, when those conditions are just right with certain temperature changes or pressure, the iron and sulfur combine and crystallize into pyrite. Last but not least, we have the metamorphic formation. Now, sounding like you're describing a massive transformation in an anime, but it's not. This happens when rocks are subjected to intense heat and pressure, similar to hydrothermal formations, deep underground. Then existing minerals again react and reorganize themselves into new minerals, such as pyrite. With having discussed the three natural formations of pyrite, you may have seen or heard of lab-grown pyrite. And yes, it is a thing. Scientists have an ability to create pyrite from a lab. How they do it again is through high pressure and high temperature, mimicking the same conditions as it would be underground. Now, I have a question for you all. As most of you have owned or seen pyrite before, have you heard or owned charcoal pyrite? Well, charcoal pyrite is known as CuFeS2. It is very much the same as pyrite, but there are some differences between them, which can be hard to spot. Now, going back to the Mohs hardness scale, the actual pyrite itself is a lot stronger. As we mentioned, it's anywhere in the ranks between 6 and 6.5, whereas copper pyrite sits anywhere between the 3 and 3.5, meaning it is a lot softer than pyrite. If you were to scratch it with a small metal object, you'd be able to tell quite easily, where if you're doing the same scratch test of pyrite, you'd be able to tell it's a lot more dense, considering it's pyrite. You will notice the colours also being quite different, though my easy way of telling is going back to doing the scratch test on both of the items there, to tell if one is actually pyrite or the other one is charcoal pyrite. There is one rare rainbow pyrite out there in the world, which is called a peacock pyrite, or also known as iridescent pyrite. It has been found featuring a beautiful metallic, sparkling, multicolored surface, very much distinct from the standard pyrite itself. The beauty of this rainbow pyrite, also known, as I mentioned, as peacock pyrite, is mainly found in sedimentary rocks. Rainbow pyrite's iridescence is a result of subsequent alteration processes. The pyrite crystals are exposed to oxygen and moisture, leading to the oxidation of the iron within the pyrite. With this oxidation process results in the formation of iron oxides and hydroxides on the surface of the pyrite itself. Now, its crystalline structure on pyrite typically forms in cubic or octahedral-shaped perfect cubes, or, like I mentioned, the octahedrons. Now, these shapes are very common within the pyrites, making them quite unique. But another shape which is very much unique to the pyrite is the pyrithlohedron, which means it's a 12-sided crystal. Now, this is only unique to pyrite, hence why it's the name. But if you were to go out finding for pyrite, you're probably wondering, where can I find it? Well, you can find it in many places. You can find it in Spain, Peru, China, Italy, and if you're in the USA, it's commonly found especially within Colorado, Illinois, and Pennsylvania. Now, when you go into a shop with gems or crystals, guarantee you always will see a pyrite. And that's because both iron and sulfur are very common elements in the Earth's crust. As mentioned before, they're both matched in the right condition, then bam, you got yourself some nice pyrite. Now you have the idea of how pyrite is created, and honestly, regardless if it isn't gold, it is such a beautiful mineral to have in anyone's collection. With the many nicknames it has, we're missing one nickname that you may have never heard of it: marcasite. Now, you're probably thinking, with marcasite, I've heard that name before, but not for the name of pyrite. A true marcasite is actually a whole different mineral altogether, but still has the same composition or chemical formula as pyrite, though the crystal structure is completely different. Now, as we wrap up this video, it's time to answer the big question of, can I lick it? And guess what? No, you can't lick it, unfortunately. There is a reason why I say no to actually licking this one. One thing that many people don't know is that the fact that pyrite actually contains small traces of arsenic. Arsenic, right? So best to keep your tongue in your mouth for this one here. Plus, not only that, pyrite should not be put into contact with any water, and that includes saliva, as pyrite can also rust. It is a very sensitive little specimen which can also get triggered by human air, from which pyrite's oxidation happens, and we actually call it pyrite disease. Now, I hope you enjoyed the little video on the world of pyrite, aka the fool's gold. hopefully it gave you an idea next time you come onto pyrite to do the little scratch test yourself and see if you maybe found a charcoal pyrite, who knows, maybe even gold if you've struck lucky. But until next time, stay nice and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!